everybody. Welcome to Twanger's Turntable. I'm Twanger, your host here. I'm doing a series of videos titled Debuts in My Collection, and this will be episode 7. So without further ado, I'm going to jump right into it and see if I can go through these with a little more rapid fire and start off maybe chronological. I'm only going to do 4 releases today, all on vinyl. And for those who have not viewed my channel previously, check out the other videos. And I also include a playlist that will include the artists that I cover in the video. That specific episode 1 through 6 to this point, and this will be number 7. And I'll do this one chronologically. There's only going to be 4 in this specific video. Now I'll start off with 1970, and that will be the debut from Sir Paul McCartney. Paul McCartney, also a member of the Beatles that most will know. But this is the debut that essentially he did in, it was released in 1970. He did it kind of in secrecy in his home in St. John's Wood. And by this time he was pretty much a family dude and done with the Beatles, Beatles, as most of the other members were. So it was time. I like all the stuff that McCartney does actually. Whether it be with the Beatles, his solo stuff, or Wings. And yeah, he played all the instruments on this album, recorded in his home studio, and dubbed some of the tracks with his 4-track equipment that he had. And when it was released, it spent I think about three weeks, I read, on the top of the charts, and the only thing to knock it off of that spot was the Beatles release of Let It Be. So yeah, this was his debut from 1970. April 1970 it was released. Yes, April 1970. But yeah, really good album. Maybe I'm Amazed is probably the most popular track off of that. I think it went 2 times platinum in the US. I mean, it sold pretty darn well for an album that was I think the consensus at the time was not favorable, but it's obviously Paul McCartney. Pretty tough act to follow when you're in the biggest band in the world at the time of the Beatles and you go out and you do a solo album like that. I don't know if it was ever going to do nearly as well as the bar that had already been set. But anyway, that's his debut, and I really enjoy all his stuff, all the Beatles stuff, Wing stuff, McCartney. And that's just an example of how I've changed over the years as being a pretty avid metalhead headbanger back in the 80s. In fact, the one thing that comes to mind is back in when Motley Crue did their Shout at the Devil album, their second album. They did a cover on their Helter Skelter by the Beatles from their White Album. And if you would have asked me back then, I mean, that to me was way better than their cover of it, was way better than the original version of the Beatles, which is ridiculous to me now. Doesn't even compare. I mean, I love those first 2 albums by Motley Crue, but not even on the same stratosphere as the Beatles, in my opinion, today. But hey, that's just my opinion and how we. Some of us, we change musical taste. That's still my primary, my preference is still rock, hard rock, metal. But yeah, definitely great album, great debut. Enough about that. I'll move on, and we'll go to this is gonna fast forward right up to 1978 and the debut by these guys, Toto, their first album. Probably best known for Hold the Line, I'll Supply the Love, some pretty good hits they had off this album. And Jeff Porcaro, probably one of my favorite drummers, was a member of Toto and unfortunately has since passed away. But his brother was also a member of Toto, Steve Porcaro, who played synth and keyboards. Yeah, really solid debut. Later on, their other brother, Mike, would actually join as a bass player. But certainly their whole family was pretty musically, gifted. Even their dad played drums, jazz. He was a pretty prominent drummer. But yeah, that's their 1978 debut. I don't know. if there was any other tunes off of there that I can think of that might have been quite. In fact, I actually have 2 copies of this, and I'll tell you why. Um, there's my good copy, and there's another copy that I got just quickly. Yeah, I picked up a bunch of albums. Gentleman had a box full of albums that were given to him, I guess, due to a debt somebody owed him, and he didn't want them. He just said, "Yeah, just make me an offer, take these records," and so I did. And there was a lot of good albums in there, and some that I'd already had. So this was one of those albums that was in the pile. I mean, my copy was certainly in much better shape, but like I said, it was just part of the album. But yeah, good debut by Toto. Obviously went on to have a massive career. Toto 4 probably being their biggest seller, but that's a good debut, and one that I still listen to regularly. A couple of times a year, maybe. I don't know. I put it on. It's also on my Apple playlist. Most of the listening I do now is on, it's a digital format, right? As most people do. I don't know if most people do. Yes, the numbers show most people do. I take it back. The metrics don't lie. Most people now stream music, either Spotify, Apple, or Amazon, whatever. I use Apple presently. Sometimes I'll use Amazon because they have the Amazon Prime as well. But anyway, that's their debut, 1978. Next up, 1982. This gentleman is probably best known as a member, co-vocalist and drummer for the Eagles, and that would be Don Henley. I Can't Stand Still from 1982. It is, in fact, still his best-selling single. Dirty Laundry was off of this album. Also, Johnny Can't Read was another popular one. I can't think of any others out right now. I'm not necessarily a huge Don Henley fan. I love the Eagles, but this is just a debut I have in my collection. I can kind of take it or leave it, but I certainly remember it, and so it does have some fondness to it, memories associated with it or whatnot. But that's his debut from 1982, I Can't Stand Still. And speaking of Jeff Porcaro, who was a member of Toto, he appears on this as well as a studio musician playing drums on several of the tracks, including Dirty Laundry, as does his brother. Steve Porcaro plays keyboards on this as well. And the guitar player, actually, from Toto appears on here, plays on Dirty Laundry. Lukather. Steve Lukather plays on that album as well. So it's almost like a Toto album featuring Don Henley on vocals, but no, it's Don Henley's debut album from 1982, I Can't Stand Still. And last of the vinyl I have today on this episode, 7, is one that I'm personally quite fond of. Great memories with this album, and came out in 1981. I don't know if they did very much afterwards, but the thing that always stood out to me on this one was the saxophone on it, and it was a pretty big hit. I think they did quite well with this, and when it came out in 1981, it went to number 1 in the album Billboard charts, and number 3, the main single off here went to number 3, and it was Quarter Flash. Harden My Heart was the big tune off of here. They followed that up with another single, Find Another Fool. I think that went in the top 20, I forget, but it was pretty popular. And I just remember this one. It's a female vocalist who also played saxophone on it. What was her name? Rindy Ross. And and also, I hadn't thought about this, but also on here is one of the Porcaro brothers playing bass. Mike Porcaro plays bass on this as well. So, as I mentioned, a very musically gifted family, and they made a very good living as studio musicians, all the Porcaro brothers. But they appear on this, their 1981 debut, Quarter Flash, and it was quite popular. I'm not entirely sure what followed for them, but that was certainly an album I remember quite vividly as a child. A young teenager at that time, and I used to play music in our junior high during the lunch breaks and stuff. I would go into the principal's office by choice most of the time, and our grade 7 teacher, God love him, Mr. Roderick, it was something I think he set up to try and inspire us to do something good, right? And so it was something I love doing. We set up a turntable, microphone, whatnot, and played tunes for our school, or and did some of the sock hops, that were popular then. Going off again, but that's as per usual. I tend to do that when I'm thinking about some of this old music and with fondness and friends and stuff. So a shout out to all my friends and family, wherever you may be. And I'll wrap it up with that. That's going to be all for today at Twanger's Turntable. That's episode 7. I will post a playlist with samples of the artists that I covered here. If you have any questions, or not questions, if you have questions, don't ask me. Just comments, opinions, whatever. Just post them down below. If you like it, give a thumbs up. Subscribe, hit a notification. So if you do enjoy it and you want to see the next video, you'll be notified when it's posted. If you don't like it, as I've mentioned before, just there's millions of channels on YouTube. I think I read somewhere there's actually 500 hours of video uploaded to YouTube per minute. I don't know if that's accurate, but it wouldn't surprise me. Anyway, thanks for tuning in today. I hope you enjoyed it, like I say, and we'll see you on the next episode. Stay well. Now go turn your turntable. Thanks, everybody. Cheers. Take care.